Greetings, everyone. This is Cherno here, and today I will be starting my cast of Lucid's Dreamer game. Dreamer game number 1, which is a bunch of relatively newish players competing for the title of pantokrator and the right to compete in Lucid's upcoming 2022 tournament. Now, with this in mind, let's take a look at turn number 1, where we get a small overview of the nations and we take a look at the layout of the land and see what we're dealing with here. Alright, so this is me. And the map is completely blank. But that is to be expected, my scouts have not spawned yet. So, we have a total of 12 nations. 1 underwater nations. Let's start with covering... Oh, and this is the early ages, so a lot of cool nations, a lot of cool magic, but not a lot of economy. So let's keep that in mind going into this series. So let's start with Arcos Cephale. Arcos Cephale here has... I will assume that most of you are familiar with the nation. This is not a national guide or anything of the sort. We'll just cover some of the cool mages, where they have the Mystic, which is pretty core. It is a randoms a lot of elemental spells and goes into communions. They have the Windlord, which leads their sacred armies and is flying, which is this is a great commander, relatively similar to Vance, if you think about it, except not invisible. The Oriats are seducers, recruitment point 4, and great nature air mages. So these are absolutely great defensive mages, great offensive mages for all purposes. Now, if we look at the titles, we see that he has 3 titles, which gives him somewhere around, what, 4 to 6, 4 to 7 Dominion, if I recall correctly. I'm not 100% versed in this, but I can imagine from that he'll be using a bit of a Windrider strategy, where he will be able to produce a lot of these, and he will use those mostly for expansion purposes. Now, the next nation is Urmor, EA Urmor, which is a glorious nation that ends up falling pretty hard and becoming MA Urmor, MA Pythium, and MA Solaria. 3 absolutely bonkers nations in the Middle Age. So what stands out here is the Augur, Fire Astral, goes into Communion, great Communion Slave. The Augur Elder, not sacred, so quite high upkeep. If we look at the upkeep, it's 168. These are a horde of skeleton casters. These go into communions, and they can cast air, fire, and death in communion. Absolutely wonderful. Then we have some great blessers. This is a recruitable Holy 3 healer, which is pretty fantastic. And then we have some out of fort recruitment guys. So this is the same. 3 titles. I'm expecting Equites of the Sacred Shroud, probably Rainbow. And that would be a very, very solid start. Very solid start. Now these titles do give a sort of hint to what paths, to what scales the nation is going for. But going into that, it would turn this into like a 30-minute video, so I'm not going to do that. After EA Urmor, we have EA Ulm, which is a pretty cool nation. Pretty cool nation. They have relatively low magic. Like their slow to recruit mage has 2/2 with a 10%. It's not a lot. It's 1 with random, 1 with random, So, seeing this, seeing this, you might think, well, what the fuck? These guys can't do anything. Now, the main cool aspect that these guys have, in my opinion, is that they have massive armies of stealthy dudes. I'm not quite sure which one of these were stealthy. It was stealthy, but like Shield Maidens stealthy, Steel Maidens stealthy, Iron Warriors not stealthy, but like these can lead huge stealthy armies. So the Warrior stealthy, 10 protection, 2 armors, and dual wielding. This will just, this is an elf nation. These guys elf you like you would not believe. Great at killing things and crafting, of course, because the mages have a forge bonus. So it's cheaper to create items. Now, EA Soromacia has two titles, so not necessarily expecting too many Orapadas, which are their default expanding unit because of their high defense, good protection, low resource cost. This is a great expanding units. Mounted sacreds with good defense are great. But I think this can go up to 6 points. So 6 points would allow a recruitment of a warrior sorceress and 5 Orapadas, which would be pretty cool. Their mages are very similar to Ermor in that they have astral and death nature. They have these, which are death ones, not necessarily used much, but soothsayers, which you can recruit in any fort without having a lab, have a 90% astral random, which is really cool. You can get into a late game blood economy, which is also pretty cool. And they have a lot of good things going for them. So we'll see. I like Soromacia, and I'll definitely keep an eye out for those guys. So we also have EA Agartha. EA Agartha is absolutely fantastic. This is before the fall of Agartha, so a lot of their nations, they do not have humans yet. They have the Ancient Lord, which is a sacred, huge damage kind of thug counter thug guy. Like not great attack skill, but you can boost that. Just this damage, given a magic weapon, given some bonus attack, that's gonna be hard to deal with. The Olms have Mind Blast, and the Great Olms are pretty damn amazing. They're sacred Mind Blasters, so this is very reminiscent of Relay, who also has like Mind Blast units. These commanders can fire rear, so Mind Blast the backline. And this is the Earth Nation. This is the Earthquake, Earthblood Deepwell Nation. With very slow armies. They have very slow armies, so you have to have a plan, and you have to kind of stick with that plan. Sudden occurrences on the other side of the map, you're not going to be able to bring your main army back in time because it could take 6, 7, 8 turns to bring that main army back. Now, Formoria is an absolute beast of a nation. We see a few titles, so I am expecting some Sacreds, I'm expecting some Unmarkeds, and I'm expecting some Formorian Giants. They have the Numidian Warriors, which are absolutely fantastic, stealthy glamored, with a javelin and a magic weapon, innate 16 attack, that is fantastic. Their mages, air, death, this is a beast of a late game nation, so we'll keep our eye out on these guys. See how they expand, and see if they can get into the late game. Helheim is an absolute beast of a nation. This is the powerhouse of EA. If If we see a bad performance from Helheim, we'll be like, "Nah, man, what are you doing? This nation hands you the early ages on a platter." So absolutely keeping an eye out on those. This is very similar to Ame Vanheim. They have mounted herdmen, which are glamored stealthy, not sacred. And then they have the Hell Herdings, which are sacred, glamour, stealthy, spirit sight units. So innately they counter Ubar because of the spirit sight, which is really cool. Higher defense than Orpadas, higher hit points. So this 14 hit points, 19 defense base. I am expecting with 3 titles, I'm expecting something like 5, 6, 7 Dominion and massive production of those Hell Herdings. Their mages are great. They have a Blood Mage, so they can get a Blood economy going. They have Air Death, like for Moria, and more Air Death. So these guys have, oh, they have so much. They're just set up to win the game. Now, EA Lanka. This is a wonky nation. It's a wonky nation. 3 titles, so we can expect something from 5 to 7 Dominion, I think. They are demons. Like a lot of Lanka's strategy is demons, chaos power, and blood summons. So this is not an easy nation to pick up. This is not an easy nation to play well. But we have an 80 gold Blood 1 mage, which is absolutely fantastic. And they are reanimated priests, so that is pretty cool. And this is just wow. This is so good. Just all of this in a communion. You have high air, you have high death, you have high nature. And it's just gonna get better, man. It's just gonna get better. Their base troops are pretty shit. These 6 at the start, the non-demonic side of Lanka is not great, but the Kalamuka warriors are pretty decent. They're pretty decent. So, this is a hard nation to play. I'll be impressed if we see good performance, and I'll be hoping to have my mind blown. Now then we have EA Shiniyama, which is Yomi. Thank you, thank you. This is the Demon Nation. They basically have free spawn demons. They are corrupt Japan before religion came. And they're absolutely great. Also, this is very high dominion. We see 4 titles, which which shows us that they are going for high dominion. Now I wonder why they have no sacred troops. Their free spawn, as far as I know, is not affected by their dominion. But we will see. He might have some sort of strategy. They have Dionis, which are beasts. 500 gold. 2 shapes though. And these with a bless. Whew, they are great. They're great. Now their base lineup, pretty trash. Bakemono shows acceptable because of the mountain recruitment cost 2 less. And that they're stealthy, so they can be used to elf people. 40 leadership scouting unit. This can be used to lead like small raiding groups of that. Hit you with one of these, 40 of these, you'll kill PD. You'll kill PD. So I'm expecting some cool performance out of Yomi, and we'll see if they deliver. Now, Hinnom. This is a nation that has a lot of different approaches, a lot of different available approaches. And I am curious about what they'll go. They can go for the MA Ashdod approach of just making a lot of sacreds. Their sacreds are giants, 55 hit points, size 5. Good protection, good defense. The problem with that is that they kill population and they cause unrest, but they have Dawn Blades, which is cool, which is incredibly cool. And they have good map move. Like you can go for this. You can go for this. You can also go for the light infantry approach where you just go a bit heavier on the scales and you just use giant infantry, 25 gold for 24 HP chassis, 14 defense. That's acceptable with a good mage lineup. Like we have astral randoms, earth randoms, a lot of different cool things. A lot of different cool things. And then the ball, of course, which is an absolutely fantastic mage. Fire 3, Earth 3, or Astral 3. All of those enable a lot of cool strategies. And then we have the Melkart, which is probably the most well-known unit of Hinem. Most well-known giant unit. And mostly because of the 69 HP, you know. You gotta get some of that 69. Alright, Ubar. One of the new nations. It's a land of Jinn, kind of genies. And it's absolutely fantastic. The only problem with Ubar is that you have to go dormant. Or, well, you can go imprisoned, but you cannot go awake. So people will often try to kill you before you get to that awake god point. Because when your god wakes up, these 3 capital sites do appear. And they are absolutely great. Hori are pretty cool. Like they're pretty cool, but not too great. These are just how do I even describe this unit? This is a really good unit. Unseen is basically like invisibility until they're hit. And most of their units have magic power. Again, I love Ubar, Nabah, that line of nations. However, I'm not going to go too much into detail for this nation. They have fire, air, that is those 2, fire, air, and earth are their main paths. And we will see how they play. They get this unit, which is considered by many to be one of the most cancerous units in the game, because they are a corruptor, which is basically like a seducer, except better in every way. And they scale walls, so you can corrupt enemy forts, and you can just steal mages everywhere. And it's absolutely fantastic. Worst case, you don't corrupt, they find you, you're an heir 2, you summon an elemental, you kill the other guy. It's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And then we have the only underwater nation in the game, EA Relay, which is a really cool nation. High astral. Like all these wonky units. Like, what is this? Mind slime? This is crazy. This is crazy cool. Insane. Their units are already insane in the early ages. They just get more and more insane as time goes on. But one of the problems with EA Relay is that their cool units are aquatic. You'll have to get them onto land somehow. And slave mages are kind of the unit used to go on land a lot of the time. These are communion slaves. These have earth, water, nature in a communion. Cheap. They're slaves, so their upkeep is very low, very respectable, and then you just murder people. You just murder people with evil, and it's great. And then there's me, this absolutely incompetent caster, who will be going through this journey with you, the viewer. I hope you are excited for what comes next, because having taken a look at the future turns a bit, we're in for a wild ride. Alright, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.